Hi, fourth graders. In our science unit of the human machine unit, we have learned how our body works. We have learned that our muscles, tendons, and bones work together to move our body at our joints. We have also learned that how our eye works. We have learned that through our pupil, light comes in through our pupil, shines on our retina, and sends messages to the brain that what we see. We also learned that our pupil adjusts to just the right amount of light that we need to see perfectly. We also learned how animals see in the dark, that their pupil gets really big to let all the light in. Today we're going to learn how does our brain make our body work. So let's go ahead and get started today.
Hi, it's Doug. One day, people were going to work in a small town outside of Dublin, Ireland. And as they did so, they stumbled across something terrifying. It was this. A giant crack had opened up in the street. Now, some people were curious, and so they walked up to the edge. Would you? I mean, you'd have to be so careful, right? Look at that. It looks like you could fall right in. Wait a second. What just happened? What is going on? That's not a crack. It's not a crack at all. It's just a sidewalk painting. It's artwork, painted by an artist named Edgar Mueller. It just looked like a crack in the ground. It was that realistic looking. This is what's called an illusion. And for a moment, it tricked you, didn't it? Now, to be more exact, it tricked your brain. Your brain is an interesting organ, and we're going to trick it with some more illusions today. Now, you probably already know that your brain is one of the most important organs in your whole body. We think of it as the body's boss or commander, really. It's in charge. Scientists have discovered that without your brain, your legs wouldn't walk, your mouth wouldn't talk, your heart wouldn't even pump. And we think of the brain as really us, too, right? It's who we are. I mean, think about it. As you get older, the different parts of your body, they start to get older, too. They wear out. So if some future technology let you replace some of your body parts as they get older, like replace your heart or replace a leg, you'd get on pretty well. You'd still be you, just with a new heart or a new leg. But what if you got a new brain? That'd be terrible. You'd lose everything, all the great memories you'd have. You'd lose memories of all the good times with friends and all the trips you'd taken. You wouldn't even know who your parents are. You wouldn't know your favorite food. Scientists have figured out a lot about the human body. They know how hands work and muscles and eyes. But the brain, so much of who we are, so much of what we do is our brains. It's our thinking and our memories. And yet, of all the parts of the human body, the brain is maybe the most mysterious to scientists. Like, for example, how exactly does your brain store all those memories you have? Do you know no one has figured that out yet? Or why do our brains dream at night? That's a mystery. Now, it's not that scientists have figured out nothing about the brain. They have some interesting clues. And also, unlike so many other organs, doing a dissection of the brain and looking at it with just our eyes, that hasn't been super helpful. It's not like your hands, where scientists can look inside and easily see how those work, little strings pulling on bones. The brain doesn't have any moving parts in there. There's no wheels or gears that are turning in there. When you have a great idea, there's no light bulb inside that actually goes off. So what is this thing inside that head of yours? What is your brain? What does it do? That's the subject of today's mystery. Now, to get some sense of its jobs, let's consider another illusion, a quick experiment that might surprise you. Do you think that you can make it look like you have a hole in your hand? Watch my friend Pat do this, then you'll have a chance to try it. First, she rolls up a sheet of paper to make a tube. And then, keeping both eyes open, she looks through the tube with one eye and covers her other eye with her hand. As she slowly moves her hand forward away from her eye, when she gets the distance just right, she sees this. See? She can totally make it look like she has a hole that goes right through her hand. Try this out for yourself. The next slide shows you what to do after you roll a sheet of paper into a tube.
Okay, I want you to pause the video and I want you to go get a piece of paper. So I have a piece of paper right here. Okay, pause the video. When you come back, unpause and I'll walk you through this together. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, take your piece of paper and you're going to roll your piece of paper in a tube. I'm going to roll my piece of paper in a tube, just like this. Okay, make it so that it's nice, it's big enough. Okay, not too small, not too big. That's not going to poke you in the eyes. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do, you need to make sure you have both eyes open. Keep them open at the same time and look straight ahead. Okay, don't try to look off to the side like this. Look straight ahead. Okay, so I'm going to put one of the tube up to one eye and I'm looking straight ahead. It's hard, so be patient. Okay, look straight ahead, and then I'm going to cover the other eye up like this. Okay, both eyes are still open and I'm looking straight ahead. I'm going to gently, try not to move your eyes, move my hand out and keep moving back and forth until I can see my hand with a hole in it. Okay, now you try. Pause and we'll wait. Remember, keep both eyes open, look straight ahead. Okay, keep your right hand against the tube, you just move it back and forth. Okay, don't get too far. Try to find that perfect distance to find a hole in your hand. Pause and do some experiments. Okay, let's keep going. Why did it look like there was a hole in your hand? What ideas do you have? Try the experiment again. I want you to pause and try it again. This time, find out what each eye sees by closing each eye one at a time while keeping the other eye open. Okay, so what they're telling you to do is try it again. Before I kept both eyes open, but this time I'm going to do this and I'm going to close my eye that has the tube on it. So I'm going to close it and I can only see my hand. Next, I'm going to close the eye that I have my hand over and keep my eye that's in the tube open. Okay. Now I can only see down the tube. That's interesting. Why did it look like there was a hole in my hand if when I closed my eyes, I could only see one of each?
If it looked like you had a hole in your hand, you can't blame your eyes because each eye was just reporting to the brain what it saw. The reason it looked like you had a hole in your hand was because each eye saw different things. One eye saw a hole, the rolled up sheet of paper, but the other eye saw your hand. Your brain took the information from each eye and combined it into one picture, a hole in your hand. But then your brain did something next. It had to make a decision based on what it was seeing. It had to ask itself, is this real? Do I really have a hole in my hand? Obviously, this was a really quick decision. You knew right away you didn't actually have a hole in your hand. It's not like you were going to call for an ambulance or something. But that's only because your brain didn't just receive information from your eyes. You know, you have other senses too. Your brain got information from down in your hands, down in your sense of touch or your sense of feeling. And you knew you didn't feel any pain in your hand. When scientists look carefully in dissection, we can see that all the senses have cords going back to the brain. These cords are called nerves. They carry information from your senses to the brain. This includes not just your eyes and your sense of touch, but your other senses too, like your nose, your tongue, and your ears. So in the hole in the hand illusion, you observed one of the brain's many jobs, one that it's constantly doing. And that's to take in information from all of your senses and combine that information and then make decisions about that information. In other words, your brain has to think. Most of the time, you don't even notice your brain making decisions, like with the hole in your hand. It just seemed automatic. You knew there wasn't really a hole. But scientists have figured out an experiment to slow down that thinking, to make thinking a little harder so that you can really notice yourself trying to think or make decisions. You're going to do one of these experiments now. Go to the next slide, and if you're in a group, have a volunteer try it out in front of everyone first. And then everyone can have a turn. See if you can notice your brain's thinking or making decisions when you do this experiment.
So I'm not going to pick a volunteer. You are just going to do this yourself. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to quickly read the words out loud to the class. So you're just going to start here. Okay? And you're just going to read the words quickly. Okay? Notice how fast you can say them. Let's pause. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try it. Quickly read these words out loud. Press play when you're finished. This time I'm going to ask you to pause, and now you're going to say the color of each word out loud. Okay? So I'm going to go backwards. This time we read the words out loud. Okay? This time you're going to read the color of each word. So this color of this word is red. Okay? It says yellow, but it's written in red. This one says is written in yellow. This one's written in blue. This one's written in green. Okay, so now you're going to tell the color of each word out loud. Okay, pause the video and try it. How did that go for you? What did you notice? Was it easier or harder than the last slide? Okay. You can try this again with a family member. If you want to pause the video, you can have them try it too. On this slide, okay, they're going to read the word, okay, the word out loud, just yellow, red, orange, blue, purple, red, orange, green. Okay. The next slide, you can have them read the color of the word. Okay. So you can rewind the video a little bit if you want to have a partner do it, and pause at each slide. Okay. Let's keep going. Which task was harder, reading the words or saying the colors? I wonder why it was so hard. I tried it too, and it was harder for me on one than the other. What was so hard about it?
In the experiment you did with colored words, it was the switch from reading words to naming colors that took a lot of effort. A lot of decision making was going on inside your brain. Rather than doing what you were used to doing, you had to think really hard to ignore the words and instead say the colors. So we've seen now that the brain is always getting information from your senses, with nerves leading into the brain. And then there's thinking or decision making that the brain does with that information. As this last experiment with colored words showed you, you could really feel your brain thinking hard. But what good is all that information and thinking if you can't do anything? As it turns out, through dissections and experiments, scientists discovered that there's another, different set of nerves leading outward from the brain, into your arms and legs, out to all the different muscles in the body. It's by using these movement nerves that the brain controls the movement of your body. This way, you can respond to the information and thinking that your brain has been doing. For example, if you had really thought there was a hole in your hand, you might pick up the phone and call 911. You can only do that because of the movement nerves that connect your brain to the muscles in your arm and hand. Now, what you're seeing here is just an illustration. It's been drawn by somebody. But movement nerves are real things. They look like this. This is a photo of real nerves on display at a museum. So there are nerves running into the brain from your senses, the sensory nerves, and nerves running out from your brain to your muscles, movement nerves. So now let's see how all these work together. Sensory nerves, thinking, and movement nerves in a little experiment that you can do right now in your classroom. I'm going to show you how in the next video.
Tomorrow we will do the activity together.